Let me tell you about the time I almost bit it while fishing on the Florida coast. See, I'm a fisherman by trade, got my own boat and all. Funny thing is, nobody in my family ever did this gig. Dad's an electrician and mom's always hopping between retail jobs. Maybe it was too much SpongeBob as a kid that got me hooked, who knows. Anyways, I ended up near Jacksonville doing the deckhand shuffle for a while, heard my fair share of wild tales out there. Most were just dumb accidents, folks getting snagged or caught in storms. Heard one about a guy supposedly getting skewered by a swordfish, but I ain't buying it. Never saw no shark attacks though, which seemed odd. Then there were the real nutty stories, like ghost ships and some mysterious black carpet on the ocean floor. Yeah, I brushed those off pretty quick. So after a stint working for others, I saved up and bought my own boat from this old-timer named Rufus. Nice guy, but he gave me a stern warning. Stay clear of foggy days, son. Bad news out there. I just nodded, thinking he'd been out at sea too long. But boy, do I wish I'd listened. My boat served me well for a few years. Had my ups and downs, hired some help now and then, but mostly flew solo. Until that one foggy day. The fog was so thick you couldn't see a hand in front of your face. But the fish were biting, so I figured, why not? Hired this greenhorn named Mark, fresh out of high school. Good kid, but green as grass. We set out, fog thicker than pea soup. Should have turned back, but I was feeling cocky. Long story short, it was a bad call. The sea was calm, fish were scarce, and we were about ready to call it quits when I heard it. A low, eerie roar that gave me the creeps. Mark comes bursting into the cabin, all wide-eyed and spooked. "What's up?" I asked, trying to play it cool. "Did you hear that?" he says, practically trembling. "Yeah, I heard it. Chill out." But then things started getting weird. Waves crashing out of nowhere, fog thicker than ever. I was about to head back when, bam, something smacked us. Next thing I know, I'm overboard, struggling to find which way's up. Salt water burning my lungs, panic setting in. But somehow I feel the boat's hull beneath me. Clinging on for dear life, I scream for Mark to throw me a lifeline. Thankfully, he's quick on his feet, tosses me a buoy, and I grab onto it like my life depends on it. 'Cause you know, it kinda did. Mark hauls me back on board, and we book it out of there. Back on land, I'm still shaking like a leaf. Never felt fear like that before. Sold the boat not long after, and hung up my fishing hat for good. Some things are better left unseen, especially beneath the waves.
I was born and raised in the deep Everglades of Florida, a place that many city slickers have deemed uninhabitable. But a country boy like me can find solace in the lush greenery and plentiful wildlife. My parents divorced when I was too young to approach the situation rationally, but old enough to know what it meant. In short, I thought it was my fault. That's just about when I started going on adventures through the thick brush and humid swamps. It was the only way I could really take my mind off of home stuff and put it on keeping my ass alive. Have you ever heard the song Gator Country by Molly Hatchet? It's about Florida. Hell, I've probably seen more individual alligators than I have human beings. One drizzly day, I ventured out about a mile from my backwoods home through the dank forests. I found a clearing about 30 feet in diameter with the prettiest daisies and petunias I had ever seen. As I stepped into the clearing, the rain subsided and the sheer Florida sun caressed and massaged my waterlogged skin. As I basked in this heavenly feeling, I heard a heavy rustle in the tree line. I went from pure ecstasy to a dead standstill. Just about anything could have made that noise, and half of the things it could have been were capable of killing me. For reasons I can't really explain, I wanted to take that 50-50 chance. It was shortly after the divorce, and I felt myself completely numb and invulnerable to danger. Mere feet away from the source of my curiosity, I heard a soft, grave voice. "Clark." Terror gripped the very fiber of my being, and I felt every muscle tense up. I leapt away from the thick brush just in time, as a full-grown gator lashed out and tried to catch me in his gaping maw. When I say full-grown, I mean at least 16 feet long and as fat as those folks in line at Walmart. I ran like a man who hopefully only has to run once or twice in his life, with his life on the line and adrenaline coursing through his veins. I raced through the overpowering greenery, collecting nasty cuts from the razor-sharp palm fronds. I got home and was interrogated by my mom about why I was nearly covered in blood and breathing like a maniac. I explained that I saw a gator and split. She said that they are more afraid of you as you are of them. Yeah, right. Now, after that experience, any rational person would stop going into deep woods alone. But I'm not a normal person, and that experience was far from the scariest.
Once, during winter, I was exploring a little closer to home in the Everglades. I discovered a banked creek under a thick canopy. I quickly checked my phone's map to see what body of water it connected to, only to find that it wasn't on the map. That should have been enough to turn me around and send me home. But I was feeling adventurous. I wasn't about to get frazzled by some pathetic, uncharted creek, so I hopped down to the bank and started walking along the sandy slopes. It only took me 3 minutes of walking to find a large, carved-out cavern, the kind an alligator would sleep in during the colder months. I saw a decent-sized stone in the creek and got the worst idea of my life. I picked up the stone and chucked it into the moist, dark abode. What I heard was not a sound a gator is capable of making. It sounded more like a silverback gorilla whose genitals were just ripped off with a pair of needle-nose pliers. The sound reverberated in my lungs and shook my body to its core. I bolted along the bank with a pace that could put Usain Bolt to shame. I looked over my shoulder to see whose slumber I had interrupted, and I truly wish I hadn't. I saw a humanoid figure standing at maybe 10 feet tall, covered in matted auburn fur. It bellowed once again. I found where I had entered the creek's shores and flew home. That was the last time I ever went out into the wilderness. Me and Mom recently moved to the suburbs to the north of the Everglades, and I could not be happier. But sometimes, while lying at night, I feel a strange attraction to the beasts of my true home.
I hope you found these stories as chilling and unsettling as I did. It's a stark reminder that sometimes reality can be stranger and more frightening than fiction. If you enjoyed these tales of suspense, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more spine-chilling content. This is your host, Nicholas Black. Until next time.